So moving into the mid game, the first thing I want to talk about is what rewards are you going to take from your first project? I talked a lot about establishing an early project as one of the first things you want to strive for, and that's because you get these rewards that are going to accelerate your engine. So not only the reward from doing a project itself, but in most cases, that's also going to cross you over to 2 conservation points, which gives you a choice from an upgrade or taking a worker. So in most games, you're going to be doing that first project and having to choose between one benefit from the column on the left and one benefit from the column on the right. And I like to approach these decisions um, individually as what is each of these things going to do for me in the goals I have for myself through the mid game. So I'm going to look at various combinations I use throughout and my reasoning behind deciding for each of these rewards or upgrades. So I'll start with the most common combination, which I think a lot of players might refer to as a traditional playstyle, in that you use your 2 conservation point reward to upgrade build, and then from the project take as a reward a worker. So if you are relatively new to the game, this is the combination I would suggest you go with most of the time, just because I feel like it gives you the most safety nets towards inefficient play. What I mean by that is, build um, is an action that you want to be doing as little as possible, simply because it doesn't score you points. It enables you to play animals, but if say you've got a 3 size you want to play and a 2 size you want to play, um, you don't want to be taking the build action twice. That's just a whole lost turn. Whereas if you upgraded it, that would get you an extra turn. Um, Benefits of upgrading build, if you do it early, getting those early kiosks and pavilions and loading them up for income can help boost your money. It's not so great doing that later in the game because you're essentially spending money to build things that are pretty much just going to pay for themselves or not give you much profit at all. But other reasons to get build is it gives you easier access to build across the map and take these placement bonuses, drawing cards, getting extra money, getting X tokens, on this map getting extra university. So taking advantage of these placement bonuses is also something to consider if you want to upgrade build. But that's not the reason I upgraded build in this case. The primary motivator for me to upgrade build in this situation is that I have native farm animals in hand, and this is a card that can score you lots of points by building close to the borders without actually filling them up. So um, before even playing, I've already got 1, 2, 3 spaces adjacent. So if I play native farm animals now, it would get me 3 appeal. But there's another easy 2 up here, another 3 up here. That could give me an extra 5. If I delay even further and start building this way, there's another 5. Um, so you can easily get 10 plus points from native farm animals. And by upgrading build, I can more easily go and fill in these um, sideline adjacent spots to give me massive points from native farm animals. So in combination with that, I went and decided to take a worker. So the reason for the worker is that, on top of wanting to upgrade build to get a lot of points out of native farm animals, I also want to upgrade sponsors so that I can lay down this science lab, which is a great card for really just increasing your card quality by getting to see more cards every round. It's like a little bit weaker of a snap, which I'll talk about a little bit later. So by taking a second worker, I'll be able to grab a second partner zoo or maybe even a university if I get a university from building over it, and then get an extra upgrade which I can use to lay down the science lab. Um, The thing you have to watch out for when picking up a worker is how far along are you in the break track, and how quickly can your opponent push it. So I feel pretty safe in this position because the break is sitting at 0, um, and I have an X token. So and my opponent's sponsor is at 3, so it's going to take several actions before they can possibly cause a break. So pretty confident I'm going to be able to spend this worker before he can break it away. But then the other reason I recommend beginners going for that extra association worker is that it protects you from having the association action getting in the way. Having that second worker helps that association action to always be useful throughout the game, being that you have that worker to spend. And also by picking up more partner zoos and universities, you're pushing more upgrades, and you're getting to have all your other actions be more efficient as well. And also just generally giving you more experience with what all those upgrades are doing for you. So if you're still learning and looking to get more familiar with what all these things do for you, um, you know, it's hard to go wrong with picking up an extra worker. So the next combination I'm going to show you is going for a snapping bonus plus taking the worker at 2 conservation points. So in this particular situation, the first thing I'm going for is snapping. And that's because this savanna on this map, as I already talked about earlier, uh, releases are quite good on this map, and there are 2 excellent options on display. And given that cards at 5 is my next move, I'm definitely going to be able to pick up one of them. So besides that specific reasoning, I would say snapping and the 2 size reward are the strongest rewards in a vacuum that I'd be looking to pick up if I didn't have a particular reason for picking a specific reward. And the reason for that is snapping in particular for 2 player is you're picking up a good card for yourself and denying it from your opponent. And that just swings the game in your favor. The other reason is it's just adding cards to your hand. Typically good cards because you're taking your pick of 1 out of 6 as the best card to get you. So you're constantly improving your hand quality. Um, and also it might be just picking up enough cards that maybe you don't even need to take the cards action, right? Because when you take the cards action, it's an action that doesn't score you points. So if you've picked up enough cards in hand because you're able to snap them off display and you don't need to take the cards action, it gives you the flexibility to exit back or cover a clever bonus, play a clever animal to just get it out of your way and not do it, and move on to doing more efficient things that are scoring you points, like sponsors that score you points, doing projects, playing animals. So that gets an action out of the way that's not scoring you points, and that accelerates you towards the finish line much quicker. And for similar reasons, that's why the 2 size reward is also quite good, um, because it gets you an enclosure without costing you an action. So you may find yourself in situations where you have plenty of enclosures for the animals you need to play, and you don't need to take that build action. So you can exit back, get some X tokens, spend those X tokens to do your animals and association actions earlier, and just do those point scoring actions more often and get those cards out of the way. So then moving on to why I chose to pick up a worker at 2 conservation points in this situation is that I started with a release as my first action. So right off the bat, I already don't have any partner zoos, don't have any universities, so I'm a bit behind on upgrades. But also the fact that if my opponent is going to deny me the cougar or the tiger, it's going to be the cougar because he can just build for it and take that away. So in order to play the tiger, I'm going to want to go and grab a double science uni to get that down. One miscalculation I did in this situation, though, is the fact that when he does pick up cougar, Even though his sponsors is sitting at 1 and the break's sitting at 0, the fact that I'm going to do cards, he's going to grab that cougar. The cougar is going to push the break another 3 steps. So um, that actually makes it so I may not actually be able to use that worker before the break. So here's another situation where I take the worker at 2 conservation points, but this time in combination with a 2 size reward. So things that factor into wanting to take this 2 size reward is one, if you've already got small animals in your hand that you want to be playing with it. In this case, I have a dingo that I want to play. Um, and also on this map, in general, um, being able to place these 2 sizes during the break lets you hit that build a kiosk reward. And if you can finish that, with that placement, that counts for getting you the bonus income. So that's a way to do it without necessarily having to upgrade build to jump across the map and try to build over it manually. Um, so besides that, other things I'm looking to do with in the next few rounds is I'm looking to play this Howler. Um, I don't particularly think I need to upgrade build to build a 3 size because really I would just tack on a kiosk and pavilion on top of that, and I'm already going to be my income's already going to be pretty good from the map bonus. So that extra kiosk and pavilion not particularly necessary. Um, and then as far as going for the 2 CP worker, um, I'm looking at, I have several projects lined up. Um, I don't see a reason for my opponent to really be interested in this howler, so I'm thinking I'll probably be able to grab it up, which enables the national park project. Um, Habitat diversity is a fairly easy project to get down once you get a few more animals, and getting pretty close to doing predators as well. So I've got a lot of projects that are lining up to come pretty soon. So I'd like to hit having 3 workers sooner rather than later, and I haven't made a whole lot of progress up the reputation track to get it from this spot. Also, the fact that on this map, getting the last worker gets you 2 conservation points. So if you do not upgrade association, which um, the fact that I'm taking a worker at 2 conservation points means I'm probably going to take 1 less upgrade. Probably not going to take that association worker upgrade. And the fact that I haven't grabbed any partner zoos yet means I'm a bit ways away from grabbing a third one for that last worker. So that's not looking likely. Also, not having talented communicator or New Zealand fur seal, those would be your other options for getting a fourth worker. Um, but in this case, I like the option of grabbing it at 2 CP just because that enables in the future being able to grab that last one for an extra 2 CP. So typically you only need 3 workers because by the end of the game, my goal is to be doing 2 projects per round, which you need 3 workers for. But by taking that worker at 2 CP, I now do not have to take this extra worker in the earlier mid game. I can save this to the end game, and I effectively look at that as a 2 CP reward, which can help you push a bigger point bomb at the end of the game. Then, as always, when you take a worker, just looking at the fact it breaks at 0 of 9, so that looks pretty good for being able to spend that worker. Um, and then it's really kind of just delaying an upgrade. So I believe in this game I actually only worked with 2 upgrades the entire time. Just getting a second university, I believe was the play, and then there's a couple of reputation spots on the ground, which gets you the reputation upgrade. Second university also gets an upgrade. And then since I have so many projects lined up to do in the future, I just keep spamming those and ignore the partner zoos. Um, if they're not enabling a project, It's better to just keep spamming projects and picking up more and more rewards to keep pushing your game forward rather than spending the time to grab a partner zoo that's not really doing a whole lot for you then rather than maybe giving you a 3 money discount. But again, on this map, your income is going to be pretty high because of these kiosks and map bonuses. So, um, it's not a huge deal to miss out on that 3 money discount. And then also considering, going for the worker, you're going to be maxed out at three upgrades for the entire game. And then, once again, looking at this game state where I have lots of projects lined up and I'm thinking already I'm just going to skip the partner zoos. Now I'm thinking even of playing with just two upgrades. And so when you're looking at a game state and trying to make a decision of can you survive on having just a few upgrades, kind of have a look at what these upgrades are doing for you, and if you really need them. I would say in any game, you're almost always going to want to upgrade animals. It's kind of just necessary to be able to score the points to get you towards the end of the game. You don't want to have unupgraded animals and then really be wanting to play one of those big point bombs that requires the upgrade. Or if you are scoring a lot of points from small animals, being able to spam it out at 3 power, playing two animals per round and just playing it over and over is also something that is necessary for being able to score points. Um, Build in this situation, grabbing the two size reward very early in the second round. I feel pretty comfortable moving forward without having the build action because there's going to be several breaks which are going to give me several free two sizes, which are pretty much going to be able to let me play all the small animals I want. So I just need to build a large enclosure here and there to play those big animals I want with the build action. Um, and I'm not too concerned about missing out on kiosks and pavilions. Sure, getting one appeal for spending 2 money for a pavilion is kind of nice. And then the kiosks, once you're past the first or second break, they're not earning you all that much money, and I'm already getting quite a few of them just from the map bonuses. So um, on this map, not too concerned about taking money. And since I have so many projects lined up, um, you know, getting that 5 money reward, the 12 money reward are also feasible options if you're looking to get more money. And then also on top of the fact, some of those upcoming projects are release projects, so I'm going to be getting quite a few enclosures back. So again, you don't need to worry about building too much if you're just going to be opening up projects for free with these projects and then also getting free two sizes as a reward. So pretty comfortable not upgrading that. And then association and sponsors. If you look at most player stats, those are the two that have the lower upgrade rates. They can certainly be powerful in the right situation, but you can definitely get away without upgrading them. So I think the tempo I get just by getting an extra worker and spamming out projects is worth missing out potentially on these two upgrades. And then uh, cards, again, I don't feel like it's always a necessary action if especially if you have the snapping upgrade, and since I have so many projects on the horizon, I'll be able to get the snapping, which gets me, uh, will be able to get me a lot of good cards um, moving forward. And if you get an early animals upgrade, that opens up options to be able to play things from display, even if you can't draw a whole lot of extra cards that comes with the cards upgrade. Um, so again, those are there's arguments to be able to move forward with your game for all four of these actions. So if you see great benefits in skipping an upgrade by taking the worker here, go for it and see how it works out. So this is a situation where I take as project rewards at 2 conservation points, I go for a sponsors upgrade, and then the project reward, I take a worker. So I think sponsors is pretty undervalued by a lot of beginners in how powerful this upgrade can be. Um, so in this particular case, I'm upgrading it because I want to lay down Explorer, which I generally consider among the strongest cards in the game, which is just going to score you lots of money and get you lots of free appeal. But even if I didn't have this, I think upgrading sponsors is still very powerful because it's just always going to get you value. Whether you have sponsors to play or if you're just using it to break, right? So if you have a lot of sponsors you want to get out, having that +1 strength to use it repeatedly over and over to get those sponsors down, and hopefully, they're good sponsors that are getting you money, getting you points, increasing the value of the animals you play, can really up the efficiency in your game by getting a lot of sponsors down. And even the multiplayer, having cheap sponsors, laying down both a water park and an adventure playground at the same time, that's an 8 appeal move for a sponsors 5 action, which costs you no money, which is great. And then even if you're not playing sponsors, if you're pushing the break, sponsors at 5, break 5, getting 10 money in itself is pretty powerful as well. There's plenty of sponsors out there that may not get you 10 money throughout the whole game, and that's all they do. Um, on top of pushing the break, that just solves your money problems, right? And so that's kind of why I don't typically take the 5 money reward as a project all that often. If I find myself with money problems, I tend to gravitate more towards just upgrading the sponsors card because either it's going to help me play sponsors that get me money, make my money go farther by making my plays more efficient, or just using it to break, gets me the break income and gets me money from the sponsors itself. And so most of the time I find that extra income from a project award just becomes unnecessary when you gravitate towards a sponsors upgrade. And then the other reward I go here for a worker, in this case, I have a very particular goal in that I want to use that worker to pick up this Africa Partner Zoo, which seems unlikely my opponent will pick up because there are 2 continents that are not Africa as base projects. Um, and what it does is it not only makes my Rhino cheaper, which is actually already playable, um, and then also enables the herbivore breeding program for next round, which gives me a future project upside. And on top of that, getting another upgrade. So, um, even though I'm going for sponsors and missing out on another possible upgrade, I'm about to get another one pretty soon, by getting that second partner zoo. And just in general, as I talked about before, with the high income strategies, Explorer is one of those cards that helps you get a lot of income. So, on top of playing Explorer, I've already got Federal Grants down as well, which is extra income. Having the sponsors upgrade, so if I were to use that to break, I've got tons of money, and so I could definitely see myself in situations in the future in this game where I have tons of money, so I can just stay in the round all day building, playing animals, and then having an extra worker to also have things to do with that association action, is also helpful so that I can keep getting value out of my turns, whereas my opponent, it may run out of steam because, maybe they don't have the income I do, they don't have the extra workers, and so they might end up with a couple of dead actions where I'm taking effective actions. So the last example I've got for you for project upgrade decisions from Emu Cup here is going for an animal upgrades first. So in this scenario, I'm going for the animal upgrades at 2 CP and taking the snapping reward from the project. So pretty clear reasoning for upgrading animals here is I've got the New Zealand fur seal, which is going to get me a worker, which is kind of a roundabout way of just getting a worker. Um, with the side effect of now I've also got my animal upgrade out of the way, which I want to do every game anyways. Um, so that's one situation where I would upgrade animals first. Uh, Other reasons, maybe I can afford another animal that requires an animals upgrade, although I don't think that's too common. The other major reason to upgrade animals first is if you've put yourself in a situation where you're sitting at 4 reputation, and so one more animals action at 5 will get you another upgrade, so you're just chaining yourself into getting an extra upgrade, is another reason to do it. And then snapping here, you know, I think in this situation, none of these rewards in particular stand out as um, really driving me towards any particular goals, right? I don't need a worker because I'm going to get one from the fur seal. Um, 2 size, I don't have anything coming up that's really going to need a 2 size. Um, and so I think snapping sort of most of the time becomes the default. Even if there's nothing super interesting on display here, which, in this situation currently isn't. Maybe the brown spider monkey because it does match a base project, but nothing else is, particularly useful. And if I do find a way to play this spider monkey, maybe picking up large animals after the next break could be an option as well to give me an extra project, given that I already have the first seal down. So other upgrades and rewards I haven't talked about, just because I didn't find examples where I did those first throughout my 20 Emu Cup games. Um, 5 money, I already talked about. I personally don't like that as much as a first upgrade. I'd rather just upgrade sponsors to solve my money problems. But there are plenty of strong players that do this as a first reward as well. Personally, I only like to do it first if I've already got expensive animals to dump money into in my hand already. So if I've already got a rhino, a Sumatran tiger, um, big money animals that I'm going to need that income for already. Kind of like I talked about in the big income, opening situation, where if you've got a lot of income, you want to find those animals to spend it on. So that's a situation where I would take the 5 money upgrade if I've already got those big animals lined up, not the other way around. I typically don't take this, just to speculate on being able to spend it later on. Um, and then, these ones at the bottom, the 12 money and the 3Xs, these typically are not first, just because these are going to give you a boost at the end of the game, right? Um, you know, as your first project, which you're usually doing in the second round, there's almost no reason to take 12 money over 5 income because that's just going to earn you way more money over the course of the game. The only situation I might see taking 12 money first is if that's the money breakpoint to play a first seal, which again is really just a roundabout way of getting a worker. And then 3Xs, I don't think I've ever taken that first, but I don't know. Maybe if you're in a situation where you want to dump a lot of X's into causing the break, maybe, but I don't see it. This is really one that you reserve for towards the end of the game when you need those X's to just take your last couple of moves to close the game out. And then there's map-specific ones, which I'm not going to get into too much detail in this video, but yeah, you just kind of have to evaluate for yourself of what does this do for helping me to accomplish my early mid-game goals. Then as far as action cards to upgrade first, the two I haven't talked about upgrading first is upgrading association or cards first. Um, Cards is typically, I think the only situation I ever upgrade cards first is on Commercial Harbor, just because upgrading cards typically means you're getting an extra card draw every action, and Commercial Harbor lets you convert that extra card into income. So I really see it as an income upgrade, really. Um, so other than that, I just don't see a huge advantage to getting cards first over other options. Maybe if you've gone a route that you've gone up the reputation track very quickly, A card's upgrade can give you a lot of control over the things that appear on display, so that could be a factor. And then lastly, association. Upgrading that first. Usually, if I upgrade that first, it's because that cheap donation is going to be the breakpoint towards securing me that 5 or 8 CP project. So, example in this situation, if I just played a 2 CP project, 2 Europe, which gets me to 2 CP. Maybe I had another 2 CP project lined up, like say large animals. Um, that puts me at 4. But if I had association upgraded already, then add on a donation, that pushes me over to 5, which gets me that better reward before my opponent. So that's something I usually look out for uh, when considering an association upgrade. And then also, if you go with the partner zoo start, an association upgrade could be an easy way to get your next worker, particularly on outdoor areas where you get an extra partner zoo for free. Um, so that's an easy way to get an extra worker if you don't see yourself um, rushing up the reputation track, or you have things you want to take as project rewards besides a worker. So that's all I've got for examples of project awards and upgrades taking in this video with a focus on the first ones that you want to decide on. So as you can see, a lot of my decision making for this is highly tactical. What are these things doing in the near term? And so that's kind of my philosophy for making these decisions. Because if you think about it, how long these games last, they go about 4 or 5 breaks, right? So those on break rewards you get from a project, you're only going to get it 3 or 4 times maybe. So if it's doing something very specific and impactful in the first 1 or 2 times you're going to use it, um, that's a good reason to pick it up. And then same thing with upgrades. You're only going to take an action 5, 6, 7 times throughout the game, and you've probably already taken that action maybe 2 or 3 times by the time you get an upgrade. So there's a limited number of times that you're actually going to make use of that upgrade. So what it is doing for you in the first 1 or 2 times after you've upgraded it have a pretty big impact on your game. So that's why a lot of my decision making for rewards and upgrades is very much tactical. But even if there's not a near-term benefit easily identifiable, that's when I shift into kind of more strategic thinking. What are the things that are just generically good? Snapping, a 2 size upgrade, sponsors upgrade. Depending on your playstyle, what upgrades you're most comfortable playing with. And then just strategically, kind of in general, the direction that your game is taking, right? If you're getting a lot of X tokens, because say maybe you played a tech institute early, maybe a sponsors upgrade makes sense to do sponsored multiplays or just pushing the break really fast. Or maybe you're getting a lot of X tokens, a lot of income. You can do association for those multiplays and then dumping money into donations. Or generally, did you start partner zoos or did you start universities, right? So if you went partner zoos, maybe association upgrade makes more sense, gives you room to grab a third partner zoo for an extra worker. Or if you want universities, maybe you're rushing up the reputation track, or just maybe you got a lot of sponsors that give you a lot of reputation. So maybe a cards upgrade makes sense to give you a lot of controller display and get into that upgraded section of the rep track. So those are things to think about when deciding to take project rewards and upgrades throughout the game. Thanks for watching.